Hello everyone, this is CJ with Cycletron. I was thinking the other day about what I like about Harley Davidson motorcycles. Now, you'll have to indulge me a bit on the title of this video, the Harley Davidson Experience, when in reality, I'm going to discuss my Harley Davidson experience. I think a lot of you have your own experiences with the brands that will no doubt be different than mine, but we still might have many things in common. I've owned many motorcycles since I got my first bike in 1986. That bike was a 1982 Yamaha 535 Virago that I bought for $1,000. It only had 600 miles on it. It was like new. Of course, this bike had many characteristics of a Harley Davidson motorcycle in terms of general style and function, but it obviously was not a Harley Davidson motorcycle. It turned out that I would eventually own and ride Harley Davidson motorcycles, but that would only happen many years later. I rode that Virago to the Sturgis Rally in 1987. That was not exclusively a Harley Davidson motorcycle experience, but it predominantly was. I mean, it was really exciting to ride in packs of hundreds of riders on the highway and to congregate in the dozens at gas stations. It seemed like everyone else was on a Harley. It really felt like a community of riders. No one gave me any grief at all about parking a Japanese bike on Main Street in Sturgis. My first personal encounter with a Harley Davidson motorcycle brand that I can remember at least was when I was 9 years old. And this 18-year-old woman, who was the sister of my best friend who lived up the street from my house, took us to a custom motorcycle show in 1972. Think choppers and lots of them. At the show, she bought me a stitched patch of the Harley Davidson #1 logo as a souvenir that I later put on my Levi's jean jacket. I thought it was pretty cool. I recently bought a similar patch for my youngest son's leather riding jacket here almost 50 years after when I got that patch. So as I mentioned, I got the 1982 Virago and rode it for a couple years, and I tried to trade it for a 1986 Sportster, but the dealer had no interest in taking my Virago on trade, so I ended up going to a different dealer and bought a 920 Virago instead. For many years after that, I was put off on the idea of owning a Harley, mostly because of the negative aspects that come with the gatekeeper segment of the customer base and the perception that the bikes were not as that reliable that followed on after the AMF ownership years. But after many years of owning a series of bikes including Hondas, Yamahas, and Ducati motorcycles, I found myself drawn more and more to considering buying my own Harley. I guess you could say that I decided to have an open mind about it after so many years of riding bikes from other brands. Also, I think I got old enough to not really care about other people's opinion about my ride. I finally got my first Harley Davidson motorcycle, which was a Fat Bob. Following the Fat Bob, I then owned a couple of Street Glides, one of which I still own, this bike right here. I've ridden my Street Glide on long distance trips across the country, often going 2-up with one of my boys, riding on the back. You know, I've really marveled at how comfortable I am on this bike, even after 600-mile-plus days in the saddle. Another aspect of my Harley Davidson motorcycle experience is changing features on the bike to make it truly suit me. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that some of these things like LED lighting and better shocks, which I ended up upgrading on this bike, should have come stock on a high-end touring bike like this. But, you know, there are a huge number of customization and accessory options available for a Harley Davidson motorcycle that's simply not available for other brands of motorcycles. So after my experience with riding all these different bikes, I think I've come to understand how the experience of riding a Harley Davidson motorcycle is different from the experience of riding other brands of motorcycles, at least as far as I'm concerned. Please notice that I said different, not better, since what is the best bike to ride will vary from person to person, or will even vary with the same person at different times of their life. So let's get into more of the details, but I'd like to first remind everyone to please like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell. For me, I have to admit that there's some nostalgic connection to Harley Davidson motorcycles. This probably goes back to that patch that my cool neighbor bought for me in 1972 when she took me to that chopper show. And then, of course, being aware of the brand is just part of the mass American culture. So take that connection and combine it with the actual riding experience. The sensation of the running engine, the tremendous torque this bike has, the exhaust note combined with the looks of the bike. To me, Harley Davidson has a higher percentage of fantastic looking motorcycles than any other brand of motorcycles, in my opinion. These looks are the result of the design elements that span many years, if not decades, of models, including the great paint and color schemes that are used on the bikes, and how it really all ties together with the sound and the ride feel. For example, the strong torque of these Harley Davidson motorcycles contributes to a more relaxed riding style, since you don't have to run up and down the gears as much like you would for, say, an inline 4 engine motorcycle. To me, the combination of high torque and lower revving engine encourages a more relaxed riding style. Of course, you can get this with big twin cruisers from other brands, but again, I like the complete package, in my opinion, of the looks and the heritage that comes with the Harley Davidson motorcycles. Also, the motorcycles I've owned were extremely comfortable to ride and had lots of storage space in the saddlebag. I found myself running to the store on those bikes to buy some groceries when I wouldn't even attempt this on a bike with lesser storage. I've posted several videos that have been critical of some of the moves that Harley Davidson management has been making, but for now they still keep producing great bikes. My criticisms have been from the standpoint of what I think they should do to keep producing great bikes for many years to come. Also, from my standpoint, my interactions with various Harley Davidson dealerships have both hindered my ownership of a bike or potential ownership, as well as supported that ownership in later years. I mean, I've been to dealerships that would barely give me the time of day when I came into their showroom. And also, if I sat down to make a deal, they would just more or less try to straight rip me off on the deal. But I've also been to great dealerships where the buying process was very straightforward, and they gave me great support on accessories and service later on. So what does the future look like for my relationship with Harley Davidson motorcycle brand? I'm going to keep riding my 2019 Street Glide Special. I'm looking forward to taking a test ride on the Pan America that launches next month. A bike that I predict will be a sales hit, by the way. Also, I'm going to keep following their story, and we'll be making future update videos about them on my channel. So what is your story as it relates to Harley Davidson, whether you've owned and ridden their bikes or not? Please let me know in the comments section. Thanks everyone, and please stay tuned. So to me, this is what it's all about. Riding my Harley, just cruising around. My son's on his bike behind me, but I am so relaxed on this bike. I mean, I'm alert to traffic and what's going on around me, but I'm in a relaxed state where I'm simultaneously concentrating and just being in the moment, riding around. This is a few months ago when it's much warmer than now, but pretty soon it'll be spring and later summer. I'll have plenty of opportunity to ride hours and hours on my bike. Plan on taking some long trips this year, so see you all out there. Thanks very much.